dear listeners, welcome to our podcast for learning English. Today, we are talking about the life of kings in the UK. I'm Emma.
Hi, I'm John. We will share some interesting stories about the kings of the past. Let's begin, and remember, this is a great way to practice English.
In the past, the kings of the UK were very powerful. They ruled the country and made all the big decisions. People looked up to them because they believed the kings were chosen by God. The king had to make sure the country was safe and strong.
That's right, Emma. The kings had huge castles, and many servants worked for them. Kings would also wear expensive clothes, made of silk and gold. They held big feasts and invited many people to eat and celebrate, but being king wasn't always easy.
Yes, being a king was not just about having fun. Kings had many enemies. They had to go to war to protect their land. If the king was strong, the country stayed safe. If the king was weak, others tried to take his power. It was a very tough job.
Exactly. One famous king was King Henry VIII. He had 6 wives. He changed a lot of things in England. Henry made England a stronger country, but he also made many people angry. His life shows how difficult it was to be a king.
Another famous king was King Richard the Lionheart. He was brave and fought in many wars. Richard was loved by many people because he was a strong and brave king. He spent much of his time fighting in the Crusades, which were wars far away from England.
Yes, Richard the Lionheart was a warrior king, but some kings were more focused on peace. King Edward the Confessor, for example, was known for his kindness. He spent more time praying and helping the church than fighting in wars.
That's true, John. Kings in the past also had to deal with problems at home. Sometimes their own families wanted to take their throne. This caused fights within the royal family, which made ruling even harder. The king had to be careful with everyone.
Absolutely. Many kings also had to work with nobles. The nobles were rich and powerful people who owned a lot of land. If the king didn't treat the nobles well, they might turn against him. So, the king needed to balance his power with theirs.
Speaking of power, do you know about the Magna Carta, John? It was a special document that changed the power of the king. King John was forced to sign it in 1215. It said that the king had to follow the law just like everyone else. It was a big deal.
Yes, Emma, the Magna Carta was very important. Before that, kings could do whatever they wanted. But after the Magna Carta, they had to share some power with other leaders. It was the beginning of the system we have today, where kings don't have all the power.
Kings also had to worry about money. They needed gold to run the country, pay for wars, and build castles. Sometimes kings had to ask people for more taxes. This made people angry because they didn't want to pay more money to the king.
True, Emma. Kings often needed more money to build their armies. Without a strong army, they couldn't defend their kingdom. Sometimes, kings even borrowed money from other countries or rich families to pay for wars.
In the old days, kings had to travel a lot. They didn't stay in one castle all the time. They moved around to check on their lands and to make sure the people were following their rules. It was important for kings to be seen by their people.
Yes, traveling was a big part of being a king. They didn't have cars or planes back then, so kings traveled by horse. They brought many people with them, like servants, guards, and advisors. It was a big event every time the king traveled.
Speaking of guards, kings also had to stay safe. There were many people who wanted to hurt the king to take his place, so kings always had guards around them. These guards were strong and skilled in fighting to protect the king.
That's right, Emma. Kings lived in big castles with thick walls to stay safe. The castles had many rooms and towers. Some castles even had moats, which were wide ditches filled with water around the castle to keep enemies out.
Castles were very important. They were not only homes but also places where the king could keep an eye on the land. Kings often made their decisions inside the castle. The walls of the castle kept the king's plans secret from enemies.
Some kings were known for building amazing castles. For example, William the Conqueror, who came from France and became the King of England in 1066, built many strong castles all over the country to keep control of the land he won.
William the Conqueror was an important king. He changed England forever by bringing new laws and ideas from France. He also made sure the nobles stayed loyal to him by giving them land. In return, they helped him protect the kingdom.
Yes, Emma. Another famous king was King Alfred the Great. He fought against the Vikings, who were trying to take over England. Alfred was a smart and brave king who defended his country and made it stronger for the future.
Alfred the Great also cared about education. He wanted people to learn how to read and write. He believed that if people were educated, they would make better decisions. He even translated books into English so that more people could understand them.
That's very true, Emma. Education was important for kings. Many kings learned to read and write, which was rare back then. They also studied history and politics to become better rulers. A smart king could keep his kingdom strong.
Some kings, however, were not so smart. King Charles I, for example, made many bad decisions. He fought with Parliament, the group that helped make laws in England. This led to a big war called the English Civil War, and Charles lost his throne.
Yes, Charles I's reign ended badly. He was even executed, which was very rare for a king. This shows how hard it was to be a king. If a king made too many mistakes, the people could turn against him and demand change.
After Charles I, England didn't have a king for a while. But later, the monarchy came back with King Charles II. He was known as the Merry Monarch because he loved to have fun.
King Charles II was indeed known for his fun lifestyle, but he also had to rebuild the country after a difficult time without a king. He brought back celebrations and helped England recover from the Civil War. He made life in England more joyful again.
Another interesting king was King George III. He ruled for a long time but faced many challenges. One of the biggest problems was that the American colonies broke away from England during his reign. This was a big loss for the king and the country.
Yes, George III is often remembered for losing the American colonies, but he also cared a lot about farming and helping people in England. He loved the countryside and encouraged better farming methods, which helped feed more people.
In the past, kings also had to deal with religion. Many kings were very religious and believed that God gave them the right to rule. King Henry VIII, for example, created the Church of England because he didn't agree with the Pope.
That's right, Emma. Religion was a big part of life back then. Kings had to make sure that their people followed the same religion. If they didn't, it could lead to big problems or even wars. Religion and power were very closely connected.
Some kings were remembered for their courage, others for their mistakes. For example, King Edward II lost a lot of respect because he wasn't a strong leader. He faced many problems and was even removed from the throne by his own wife and son.
Yes, some kings had very sad endings. King Richard II also lost his throne because he made too many enemies. His cousin took his place, and Richard was imprisoned. It shows that even kings can face tough times if they don't rule wisely.
Throughout history, kings have shaped the future of England. Their decisions affected not only the people of their time, but also future generations. Some kings are remembered as great heroes, while others are seen as failures.
That's true, Emma. Being a king in the past was full of challenges. They had to protect their country, manage money, make good decisions, and deal with enemies. A king's life was not as easy as it might seem.
So, we've talked about many kings and their stories. Each king had a different personality and faced different problems. But in the end, all of them played an important role in shaping the history of the United Kingdom.
Thank you for listening to our discussion about the kings of the past in the UK. We hope you enjoyed learning about their lives and the challenges they faced. Remember, learning English through history is a fun way to improve your skills.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Keep practicing your English by listening to podcasts like this. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to hear more stories and learn more. Have a great day and see you next time.